distracting, movements through the formation of task forces. Okay, and I'll give you examples of when J.M. Kariuki was killed, March 2nd. I think that's when his body was discovered, 1975. The system very quickly set up a parliamentary commission that was headed by somebody called Mwangale, Elijah Mwangale, uh, who was, I think, MP. What that parliamentary commission did was to really diffuse the tensions, diffuse the tensions because people were very angry about JM's murder. The universities took to the streets, and so to diffuse, that particular popular unrest, this commission was quickly formed. When it's reported, nothing was done. Even the parliament tried to change some of the findings, and nothing was done. Then in 91, I think, after the ethnic clashes, those involved are going to be prosecuted and jailed. Nothing happened. Okay, Ouko, Robert Ouko was killed, I believe, 1990. What was called the Troon Commission. They brought this British guy from Scotland Yard, to deal with to do the investigations, and then there was a commission chaired by the late Chief Justice Kisheru. Richard Quach was 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 in that commission as well, and it was a board commission actually, and Moi saw exactly where that commission was headed, and it is bandaged. And those who are suspected of Oko's murder were arrested. They were never charged, and there were no prosecutions. I think a lot of the millennials will remember the Work Commission, or even the Gen Z. I think this is 2007. After that election, there was the Work Commission. Okay, and when you look at all those commissions, the common denominator, in my view, is that they were used to diffuse uh, popular uprisings, you know, to to make sure that the public anger, dissipated, and that will be it. And they use these tax forces, like the Huko thing. If those of you remember, Huko was supposed to have shot himself in the leg and doused himself with acid and burned himself. That was basically the theory that the government, advanced. So task forces, commissions of inquiry, whenever there are issues, and Miguna made this point, who appoints them? It's the culprits, the people that we suspect are the criminals between what has happened. Okay, so it's we should uh, you know, reject them. The other thing that is historical in terms of demonstrations and mass action over years is the fact that the criminal elements, people have talked about goons, they've talked about uh, criminals. What we have known all along is that within the police force, there is always a criminal gang, and that gang invariably is reports to the president and not to their superiors, and they have been dangerous. They were supposed to be taking care of the cattle wrestling, yes, in certain areas. They didn't do that. In fact, they spent a lot of time in the 70s trying to intimidate President Moi to resign, and they were involved in what was called the Change the Constitution movement during that period, so that President Moi would not automatically succeed Jomo Kenyatta in the event he died in office. And the others, you must have heard of Kwekwe, the flying squad. And even the current one, I think, is called Rhino. They have, names. And the politicians themselves have militia. Okay? You must have heard of Raila's Men in Black. Okay? You must have heard, or you might not have, but a lot of people of my generation would know that in 1997, Ngumo had a militia called Jesh la Mzee that terrorized us during the mass action during that period. So when the president talks about criminals and the gangs, is not telling the truth. And I honestly, I don't think if he tells the truth, it must be by accident, and even that one, I wouldn't believe it. So the gangs and the Gen Z have seen this clearly, that these people join the demonstrations and they do stuff, and the police seem to protect them, and so the of course they are deployed to completely make people angry against the peaceful demonstrators, because they'll say, "Oh, these people are destroying property, they are stealing and so forth." And it's wrong for us to accept that dialogue or that argument, because a government that cannot protect property and lives actually is illegitimate. And that's a legal position as well, as well as a political one. If you are in government and you cannot support, protect lives and the property of the citizens, then you are illegitimate. And there is a lot of evidence that we have seen where the police, watch as people, commit crimes. So this narrative about gangs and whatnot, okay, if the state was actually protecting the demonstrators from the gangs and making sure that the gangs don't uh, steal or destroy property, then I'll be persuaded. But they are the ones who resurrect them, because those gangs are always, there. I mean, we've all known about Mungiki, for example. All right. So that narrative should not actually, be accepted. But I just wanted to finish by, celebrating the Gen Z for expressing their anger, uh, protesting, this uprising or this revolution, uh, and I look at it also as a generation that is also telling the government that they have to respect constitutions, they have to respect the rule of law, that they have to respect the human rights of Kenyans. And they are talking about the material interests of the youth and the Kenyans. And that's politics of issues for me. And I think it's very, very important. And I think it should be, continued. Uh, the JNC will have to decide, and I'm sure probably they have already decided, because I know they have political parties and social movements, that particular generation. So basically, we don't need to devise you. It's your movement. We glorify it for the reasons that I've given. Go ahead and decide on your political and ideological positions. Make sure you continue, making your political demands, and watch out for politics of division through ethnicity. The factions you are dealing with, be very good at organizing politics on the basis of ethnicity and the monetization. And also they know they have the backing of foreign interests. So those are some of the things you have to, to watch out. Watch out that narrative. People coming to say, oh well, just work with this faction. Um, the dialogue we are being invited to is a monologue, but to obviously expose you to either manipulation or bribes or whatever. So I think I salute, your, mass action. And I just wanted to finish. Kashoka asked me to comment on Article 241 of the Constitution, that is the deployment of the military under that particular section, article, and a paragraph. I think that in fact the the paragraphs, they use the wrong paragraph, all right, okay, because and even the ones they try to use, we didn't have an emergency or disaster, okay, in the country. Constitutional mass action under 37, Article 37 of the Constitution cannot be called an emergency or a disaster. Nor can it, the other C, that paragraph C that Kashoka was talking about Parliament, giving approval. It also says that the military may be deployed to restore peace in any part of Kenya affected by unrest or instability, but only with the approval of the National Assembly. I don't agree that the mass action that were constitutional and that invoked the Constitution and the rule of law can be described as unrest or even instability. I think this one is like when you have uh, some areas, and I think you have some areas in the Rift Valley where there are such deployments. But what was happening, uh, you know, in the last few weeks was not unrest or instability. It was peaceful. It was young people expressing their anger constitutionally. exercising their freedom of expression, assembly, movement. So, in my opinion, what we are being prepared for is a declaration of state of emergency, which is under 58, Article 58 of the, of the 58 of the Constitution. And that, when you look at that, provision, I think it's 58. Yes, it is. When you look at that article of the Constitution, uh, you will find, yeah, it's called state of emergency. You will find that the person who does it, okay, it's the president, okay, who declares it, that state of emergency, and of course it lasts for 14 days. Then it can be extended by Parliament for 2 months, and also it's subjected to uh, legal action. The Supreme Court may decide on the validity of the declaration of state of emergency, and that means that citizens can, of course, go to Supreme Court and challenge the validity of this state of emergency. But I think that's probably where we are headed, and we should be, you know, uh, prepared for it. But even if there is that declaration, as I was said, the conditions are also pretty, strict in terms of the timelines, in terms of the, the challenge. So I'll stop there, and thank you very much, for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Dr. And yes, just a comment and some few questions before I open now the floor to everyone to just ask questions. Dr. Miguna mentioned not having knowledge, or having to be really just, not, having knowledge beforehand about the armory, and was suggesting that it would be difficult for the average population to know where this is, and so there were comments around, or concerns, that even the parliament, when the demonstrators say they're going to occupy it, that it was indeed understaffed, and of course this is the government to come out and say something about it. But there is an impression that probably the police were not really well prepared, or did not want to. So it was more of, it could be also just a setup. And there's also some news that was going on about the CCTV of Parliament not being found. So these are all information that are really causing anxiety in the population, when they think, okay, is there something being hidden? So probably it would be good for people, for the concerned, or the people who have the mandate, to also really inform the citizens, so that citizens do not need to have suspicions. So the question I have for you, so regarding the deployment of the military, as we saw, okay, in your opinion, you say what happened is not exactly an arrest or instability, and we saw that the approval was from the parliament, was actually retrieved after, which was not in line with it. And so, what can we do about it at this point? Are we going to, are the citizens just going to, wait for it to take the course that it's taking, or is there a way of actually retrieving it back, so that we don't have the military deployment, on the side, because that is also causing anxiety in the population. If you can answer to that, then the second question, I see your miking. The second question is yesterday the ruling party and the opposition uh, decided that they're going to form a government of national unity. Does the ruling party legally still have the mandate to do that? Over to you, Dr. Ray. The two questions.
Yeah, I think I tried to explain the article, this article 241, that was used, and you have already said that even the so-called approval they got was what we call retrospective. They didn't go to parliament under that particular paragraph before they did what they did. And I was just arguing that there is no way uh, uh, what was happening could be described as emergency or disaster or unrest or instability. It was a constitutional expression, by the young people, and they stayed. Okay. Uh, and as to about the armory that you raised, it's it's a it's not even a matter of our concern. It's blatant lies. Okay, blatant lies. That the people who are so peaceful, were also raiding an armory, in parliament, and they were preparing for a coup d'etat. Okay, it's Kibaki who used to say, and I think he said that, and everybody remembers what he said when his election, 1988, when he was winning during the Q elections, and the presiding officer in Madhio, in Odaya, wanted actually to declare the person who was losing the winner. And Kibaki told the presiding officer, my friend, even rigging elections requires intelligence, and you don't seem to have any intelligence. Those lies that are being told about the Gen Z are lies, and they are lies that are being told by people who are not intelligent. Okay, they are utilitarian. And I think the regime will keep on lying and lying until you accept lies, as truth, and that will be my position. And I think Miguna also had a brilliant case about it. He asked brilliant questions about it. Okay, what has happened, and those questions he was asking, anchoring them, on the state's responsibility to protect our lives and property. Okay, why haven't they investigated? Okay, so I think that would be my position. This invocation of 241, in my view, as I said, is to prepare us, or to test the waters, as we said, to see how we would react, to the deployment of the military. And I've already explained that if that happens, we should be prepared to challenge it. because the only way um, uh, I can see, in the old days, of course, a state of emergency would be declared, and there were no limitations and there were no constraints. So, and then people will be basically intimidated that way. Um, and all states want to create fear. Okay, so as we go forward, we should remember one what Comrade Julius Wajira has always said. You lose your fear, they lose their power. Okay, so that will actually be uh, our position, and we need to explain it uh, to Gen Z. We'll have to explain it to parents, friends, everybody, that there will be challenges at some point. As I've said, they might challenge their movement on the basis of ethnicity. We have heard this, oh, this is Akiku, this, or this is this, or these people, whatever. And I've seen also that the ethnic militias that were on parade in Eldoret. Those are the kind of things that we should uh, uh, pay attention to. Um, and I just wanted to end by reminding people who remember the demonstrations that were taking place in the world, Paris, Seattle. There was a guy, a young man in that demonstration, and the Gen Z have really been fantastic in their placards and slogans and their demands, and they have also been fantastic in their humor. So this guy was demonstrating, had a T-shirt where he was basically telling, the ruling elite in the world, that at that point the population of the world was 6 billion. Mm? And he said, you're just 60,000, I think he said, but we are 6 billion. Okay, and I think that's the position Miguna was making, that popular uprisings and where people are involved, all people are involved, and they are peaceful, they are unstoppable. And so I wanted to end on that note in answering your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ray, for your response. Kingsman, please take a go, and then we open the session for Q&A.
I think mine was just an addition of to what Dr. Dr. Mutunga has touched on, and what also Dr. Miguna spoke about. Mine was just on the utterances of one of members of parliament who was overheard in some local stations talking about that if he was in charge of this country, or if he was the president by now, he should have killed as many Gen Zs as possible by killing at least 5,000 Gen Zs a day. And as we are speaking as of now, no action has been taken against him. And as the Daktari was saying, these things that they are mentioning, I don't know, they have an armory in parliament. Is it that they are preparing us for something that we don't know? Dr. Miguna, back to you.
Oh, thank you, Kingsman. I think we're going to open the floor for all the other comments. But maybe Ruto was just trying to scare people. Maybe, some of these people are cowards. it's possible that there is even no armory at Parliament. I mean, why would there be an armory in Parliament? I didn't know about it. That was the first time I was hearing about it. Parliament is not a military installation. So you would have police officers that are guarding it, but an armory, that's a new word. It could be that in order to instill fear on Kenyans and the Gen Zs and millennials, for example, he wanted to lie to say that there is an armory so that people think that, well, we don't go back there because they could slaughter all of us. And of course, now you make the statement, you remind us of Farah Maalim, the MP for Dada, who basically said that he would commit mass murder at an industrial scale if he was president. I mean, this is done in the midst of the protests. And after so many people have lost their lives, so many people have been abducted, and some are still missing. He says this. And he says this without any kind of uproar, no condemnation from his fellow legislators, no condemnation from Ruto himself. Actually, significantly, no condemnation from Raila Odinga and the ODM leadership. Like, this is unbelievable. And of course, he hasn't been apprehended. If for nothing else, if Ruto was intelligent and had emotional intelligence, he would have done and said something. What I get from all this is that we actually give these people more credit than they deserve. These guys are not intelligent at all. These guys actually have no clue how to manage even a chicken coop. Ruto is supposed to be a chicken seller and probably a chicken grower, or what do you call somebody who rears chicken? But he does not have the intelligence of chicken. Even chicken would know that you don't do that. That after this attack that his goons have had on the people, you don't go there and have your people threatening them, boasting about what you've done, congratulating the police for killing people. But that's what they have done. Essentially, what they are saying, to these people that you control through public resources. Because to tell you the truth, what I saw there yesterday, the men, and they were all men, they were all old men. See, a lot of us think that some of us are of the generation of those men. Most of those men, except Ruto and probably Kingi, are even of my generation. But they were all men, old men, very old men. And there is nothing about, I'm not complaining about their age, but I'm saying, can you imagine having a meeting at Kenyatta International Conference Center about the crisis that has been brought by popular protests of very young people, teenagers mostly, and you don't have even one Gen Z and one millennial amongst you, and you don't have a woman, not one woman? He has women in the bureaucracy, he has PS administration, but he couldn't think of one single woman that could attend that gathering. They Terror that they bought the other day. They couldn't have allied. They couldn't have any of these people. Of course, ally is not a youth, but I mean, they couldn't have anybody that looks young. That's the kind of arrogance that you have. That you can send all crooks either to come
Thank you much, Hillary King's Daktari. Today we have another Dr. Tani and everybody else on this page. And Fozia of Somalia, Dr. Fozia of Somalia. Now, in the mix of this, 6 months later, some deal was done between Ruto, the Djibouti guy, president of Djibouti. We've seen Ruto giving Djibouti a free visa and all that. So the Djibouti aspect came in when they saw that maybe Fuzia is getting a lot of momentum, and this is information coming from Somalia. Now, they asked the guy in Djibouti to come in as a competitor as well for that chairmanship seat. And then Fozia was told to step down by the president of Somalia. When she asked why, and this is after doing their campaign 8 months down the line, 7, 8 months down the line, Fozia is told, remember, Djibouti came. Now, Djibouti, currently the story has, and from the Fozia herself, we hosted a space for her, said she was called by the president of Somalia and the prime minister, and she was told there is somebody else who we are leaving this seat for, so you need to step down. And she said, okay, but for what are the reasons? Are we exchanging something for our nation? In that order, I will step down, but give me a reasonable reason. I've put a lot of effort, time, money, campaigns. At this time, Fozia was also backed up by the parliamentarian in Somalia. She had a full backing of the parliament. She had full backing of everybody when she was submitting her applications. When that happened, I will finish much. When that happened now, the reason Djibouti is coming into the mix is for this lady to step down, and then Djibouti does not have the person they've put into the competition does not have a chance against Ruto. So this way, against Odinga. So
Yeah,
this
thanks,
way,
thanks.
Ruto gets rid of
Thanks. I was
Odinga.
thinking, you know, when you said Ruto the whole time, I was thinking, okay, what does she mean? But thanks for correcting that.
No,
Yes,
it's Odinga.
thank you. Yeah.
Yes, correction. Yeah. So to step or to vie for this chairmanship, but it's gone to the extent of asking a Somalian candidate to step down who had a very good chance. Remember, this seat, actually, it's over how many years that a woman has not sit on that. So she looked a lot favorable for a lot of countries. And when they saw that threat, and Ruto wants to make sure that Raila gets to that chair and he's out of his way and out of his neck. So they approached Djibouti. And now, as we speak, the lady from Somalia, her president has refused to give her the endorsement letter. So that means he is going to be out of the contest. And this to guarantee a chairmanship for for Raila. So Ruto is going to a lot of extent. It looks like Ruto and Raila are now, I think, Dr. You've been vindicated. They're all in the same bed. They're all in the same group, and they're going to even far countries out of Somalia to make sure, out of Kenya, to make sure Ruto goes to the AU. And there's a lot more that they're cooking for the AU, and within those chair, it's not just Ruto, Raila to be on that seat, but there is more that they need to cook up. So I think this gang, they're far deep. They're far dangerous than we think. They're more connected than we think. And there is a lot much worse that they're doing, even outside Kenya.
I can get back to you and then I'll say what I wanted to say to that. Over to you, General.
Yeah, Maja, I just want, and it is useless. I have described it as equivalent to the Luo Council of Elders. It amounts to nothing with no power. So it's irrelevant. And number two, so problem. Ruto and Raila, by getting Ruto outside, losing Kenyans through that fracture. Now they are all in one basket and we need to bury them. They are all in one basket and we need to bury them.
That means Somalia knocking out Djibouti, but for the interest of Kenya, interest president who's street smart and knows how to put the interest of Kenya out there. Ndolo, then Nelson and Joel.
Thank you very much for the conversation and for holding the spirit of patriotism and for being there. See, right now, even engineers are agitating to occupy Engineers Board of Kenya. There is, I can give an example. In 2018, we had what is called the engineers rules of 20. It was by then it was a draft 2018, and they asked for comments, and comments were given. I remember we submitted comments were given. I remember we submitted just a show. In the end, just to show that we as an institution, we have gone through the public participation process. However, the real concerns of the people are never taken into consideration. This could be a problem in all systems, all the way from machinani up to the national. And we saw it during the finance bill, where last year actually was even worse when they passed the in the Nyando region, Kano, they call it Otada. This Otadaness, how do we go against it? How do we go through this Otada system? Thank you.
Thanks. That's taken. Joel and then Nelson.
The Raila and Ruto issues, but remember, right from the MCA to the MPs, we have elected very poorly as Kenyans, because in the old has never been a lack of leadership within the tried to so remember that if we did not have that
I'm sorry, I'm interested in the word dialogue because it's gonna be prominent. They'll come, the politicians, the people in the swamp, because right now we are drowning the swamp, as Dr. Mutunga has made. Use the approaches of the past.
I can hear you, but I can't hear him.
Okay, then just be patient. If you cannot hear the next speaker, then kindly leave and come back. Sometimes,
Okay.
yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you. Yeah.
All right. All right.
Joel, can you continue?
Okay, sorry about that, Dr. Miguna. So I was just to have good governance, to sack corrupt cabinet ministers or secretaries, to stop tribal appointments. Seven general elections, that was a highly contested election, which resulted in significant post-election violence. But later, what happened? Raila chose dialogue at that time and most of us and some of his critics, argued that power sharing deal was more about political expediency and benefiting the political elites rather than addressing systematic issues about, rigging and all that. Then it came to 2013 elections where there was accusations that the push for dialogue was more about maintaining political relevance and positioning for the next general election, which was coming up in 2017. And then here we had 2017, the same thing. There was a handshake which really led to BBI, which was a political maneuver to consolidate power and to
Joel,
Yes.
just a moment. Kindly allow me to clarify that each speaker is going to speak for only 2 minutes. This is because we have a lot of speakers that are still requesting for the mic. So after one minute, I'm going to raise my hand. So for all the speakers who are following, who will speak after him. After 1 hour, after 1 minute, if you see my hand raised up, it means you have another minute to go. I know the 2 minutes are not enough. The next speakers try to really, organize your points so that you can put them across in 2 minutes, and then we'll have more people speaking. Back to you, Joel, as you land. Thank you.
Okay, as I land now, we realize, after all that, this is all about political expediency, consolidating power, and even marginalizing opposition voices. Right now, for me, I feel that is the aim of the political class. The Kanu orphans, right now, they want to marginalize us. They want to silence the opposition voices. And, it's argued that really this serves their interests, the political elites, rather than addressing the needs of ordinary Kenyans. And as I wind up, there has been deaths, right now, Danzel Onyango Omondi, that was very painful. And the rest, and many others who haven't been mentioned, who haven't been heard. And at this time, the anger really should prick up to the bone because many people, they're going to use this to silence people. They're going to use deaths. They're going to use abductions. They're going to kill people. And I would just want us to be encouraged by this and not to give up. I'll land there. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Joel. Over to Nelson. Daktari, can you now hear Nelson?
Hi, Dr.
Great. Continue, Nelson. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Marge. Thank you, Hillary, for this space, and thank you, Daktari, and every other speaker, CJ, and Tony Gashoka, and the rest. I have only 2 points to make, and the first point is, so I've been reading some memoirs of Black revolutionaries from different parts of the world, and there is one quote that has really stuck with me, and the quote goes, each generation must, out of is actually the economic independence of our country is actually the economic independence of our country, because far too long we have not been is that